What up, bitches? It's the misanthropic one, aka He Who Hungers, and I'm back up in this bitch for another rant. Social justice in comic books. Reason I'm making this video is, well, for one, let me shout out my man, O'Shea Duke Jackson. Shout out True Teller 410, and shout out JD Black. I know O'Shea, I know you did a video on this. I'm not sure if JD Black did a video on this. I don't think he did. I don't know why I'm thinking about that, but I know O'Shea, I know you did this one. The reason why I'm doing this is because of the recent cancellation of a comic book by Marvel Comics that centered around this whole Black Lives Matter bullshit. And let me say this, I am so glad that it got canceled. Number one, those that follow me know that I am not a big fan of Black Lives Matter, that they are just the biggest joke on the planet. You can see my previous videos on them and to see why. I'm not going to go into that, but I believe that they're a joke. Number two, that book was sort of linked to a very underrated character in the Marvel Universe named the Black Panther. Shout out to Chadwick Boseman, who is the actor playing the Black Panther. Those that watch Civil War, you know who he is. He was Jackie Robinson in 47. Great fucking actor. It's about time he's getting his just due. I can't wait for fucking Black Panther next year in 2018. That's gonna be a killer movie. Some people even said that he stole the movie Civil War. He was great. Can't wait for that fucking movie. But I'm glad that his legacy wasn't tarnished by this fucking comic, because I know he had something to do with it, because he is one of the prominent black superheroes. You know what I mean? I just don't like a lot of shit that is going on today, being put into comics. And I know some people are gonna say, well, art imitates life. I agree. But when you're pushing shit that's your own personal agenda instead of how some of these characters might think, then it's a problem. You know what I mean? I like comic books. I like movies, music, because you get to escape reality. I don't want to read comic books and have to deal with all this bullshit, especially when majority of the people in this world know it's bullshit, but a lot of people like to fucking whine. Another case in point, that show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Great show. For those that are Marvel comic fans, it's very slow in the beginning. Seasons 1 through 3, very slow. There's some moments in there, but this season 4, and I don't want to ruin it for anybody, so those that haven't seen it, just stop watching my video right now. But season 4 is where it really picked up. This season that just ended was fucking phenomenal, top to bottom, except for one thing. Well, I liked it from the beginning because, you know, Ghost Rider was introduced into it. That made the season take off like at Mach speed, and it didn't disappoint me except for one thing. When it got to the third part of the season, because it's usually split into 3 sections, well, they started to do 3 story arcs. I believe this and last season they started doing 3 story arcs per season. When it got to the last part of the season, which was the whole what if, or the framework part of the season, those that watch it know what I'm talking about. It became this whole it was basically the satirical fucking Trump shit. It just was like, oh, come on. Like, we have to make the world safe again, and there's oppression. This group is oppressive, and this is what it was. Just so much of the shit that it just gave me a fucking headache. Thank God the season was fucking good. Thank God for that. I just don't want to fucking deal with that. And again, I know people will come up and say, well, a lot of those comic books stemmed off of original social issues. True. Like the X-Men. The X-Men was stemmed off of the civil rights movement. I agree. But again, when it comes to stuff like that, that was organic. That was, people actually had had backing for what was going on in that time. You know, when you have this shit like people that wanted certain people to win and they didn't win, you know, and they're whining like babies. This is what the comic books are gonna start following. I don't want no parts of that shit. It's fucking ridiculous. And let's say it was the other way around with this election. What would that third part of season 4 be like? What would it be like? Because then I don't know what it would be. I don't know what you. God, I got a fucking headache. All this shit where comic books want to push feminism and social justice down my throat is fucking irritating as fuck. I know there's a channel, one or two channels that talk about this sort of shit. I know one is called Diversity and Comic Books, and I forget what the other one is called, but great. I stumble upon their videos and great shit. I totally agree with what they're saying. What else did I want to throw in here? When, you know, when you're changing, like in movies, for example, I'm sticking with Marvel because I'm a Marvel Comics fanatic, see? Spider-Man. But when you're changing the race of a well-known character, race, gender, sex, creed, whatever, when you're changing the well-known attributes of a fucking character to push the narrative that we're accepting, we're not homophobic, we're not racist, that makes me believe the opposite. For example, you had that shit Fantastic Four reboot. My God, Fox will not get Fantastic Four right. They need to go back to Marvel. The rights need to be given back to Marvel, the movie rights. I hope that comes quick because those Fantastic Four movies, both incarnations of them suck. But I'll talk about that some other time. But when they did the reboot and they cast like Michael B. Jordan as fucking Human Torch, great actor, love him to death. He's from right here in Jersey. And there was the rumor that they wanted to cast Dr. Doom as a fucking female. You know, that shit sparked so much controversy that it took away from the actual movie. I mean, the movie was shit anyway, but people didn't even care about that. They were asking so many questions. It was like, okay, if Johnny Storm is black and his sister is white, you know, what's their father? What's the relationship there? But it's like people are concentrating on all of that. Look, Johnny Storm is a blonde hair, blue-eyed, good-looking dude. Dude that all these chicks would kill themselves over. That's who he's supposed to be. So it's not racist to say, well, that's who the guy is. You know what I mean? and cast somebody that looks like the motherfucker. I believe Michelle Rodriguez also said the same shit. Shout out to her. She's also from Jersey. She said, yeah, why are we changing up shit in superhero films? Like, it doesn't make sense. And I totally agree. Not to shit on anybody that's getting a role or whatever. But it just takes away from, you know, the storyline. Now, granted, it does work sometimes. Like, for example, that shitty 2003 Daredevil movie, the one with Ben Affleck. Michael Clark Duncan, the late Michael Clark Duncan, he played Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin. He played him great. But those that know the Kingpin, they know that he's a big, muscular, well, he's like a sumo-ish crime lord that runs shit out of New York. Like, there's nothing that goes down without the Kingpin knowing. Even outside of New York, he got businesses and shit that's going on. If you're watching the Netflix incarnation of Daredevil, which is fucking phenomenal, Vincent D'Onofrio, fucking amazing as the Kingpin. And he looks like him and everything. But, you know, rest in peace, Michael Clark Duncan. And yeah, there's very few times where it's okay. I get it. But there's a whole push in comic books, especially in Marvel, where it just seems so forced down our throats. Like, for example, you got Iron Man. They made him a black chick. They changed Thor to a female. I forget what else. There was a bunch of them that they made the Hulk Asian. I mean, come on, like it's just. And please don't leave any comments where what's wrong with Asian people or this. I'm not saying any of that. They even wanted to make Captain America in the movies. They wanted to toy with him and make him fucking homosexual. I mean, what the fuck? Look, don't leave me any comments saying that I'm a homophobe, I'm fucking racist. Don't leave any of that shit, because that's not the case. I believe in this. If you want to build on that, create a goddamn new superhero. Create a brand new superhero from scratch. Don't sit there and build on something that was already there. I talked about this with fucking Ghostbusters, that shitty movie with my girl Melissa McCarthy. Love her to death, man, but that movie sucked. You know, I don't want to see fucking a forced female Ghostbusters. I don't want to see that shit. I'm sorry, I don't. And it's not because I'm sexist. I just don't. It's too cheesy. It's not organic. It just is like, okay, we have to show that, you know, we have girl power, as if there's no girl superheroes out there. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. Build your own shit. I don't like when you already have something that's established. For example, Captain America, and then you say, well, hey, you know, we'll just make we're toying with the idea of making him gay. For what? Why would you do that? Why would you make Steve Rogers gay? And then on top of it's Chris Evans, and I know he's only doing this because he's pleasing liberal Hollywood. He goes, oh yeah, that's a great idea. What? How the fuck is it? Look, you want to make a gay superhero, and if the story's good, hey, I'll support it. You know, I'll if the story's that intriguing, I'll say, okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll go read it. I'll go watch the movie, whatever the case may be. But don't sit here and hijack something that's already established to please a small minority. That's bullshit. I'm not a fucking fan of that shit. You know, same thing with, you know, when it comes down to my race, you have great prominent black superheroes. Work on them. You have, like I mentioned, Black Panther. That movie's gonna kill, because MCU is killing it right now. That movie, people are anticipating the fuck out of it. That movie's gonna kill. That's gonna put Black Panther back on the top. You have people like Spawn, who dominated comic books in the 90s. I mean, he was a fucking fascinating. He was an anti-hero, but he dominated comic books. He was an original character, and I believe they're doing another movie, like a reboot, because that shitty one that came out in the 90s was shit. It didn't do Spawn justice. Even though I like Michael Jai White, I know McFarlane is working on a new script and it's going to be rated R, which it should be, because Spawn is no slouch. There's no censorship. That HBO cartoon that came out in, I believe, what was it, the 90s? Yeah, late 90s, fucking did Spawn justice. Check that out. Look it up. It may be on YouTube, the Spawn cartoon. But yeah, you already have these things. People act like they don't exist. You know what I mean? But in cases like, let's say Green Lantern, a DC superhero, it makes sense that you have a black Green Lantern, because Green Lantern is a core people. It's like they're intergalactic policemen essentially. So it makes sense that you have a black Green Lantern. John Stewart, that's the guy's name. When it comes down to Marvel's Ultimate Universe, I know people are gonna bring up, well, Nick Fury's black. Yeah, it makes sense, because in the Ultimate Universe, it was like an alternate reality, so things are different. It's organic. It makes sense. You know, that's why they have Samuel L. Jackson playing Nick Fury in the movie. It's accepted. I totally agree with that. But don't do this shit where it's not organic and you're trying to please a small minority, you know, like with this whole, there was a feminist slant in some of these comic books. How many females are actually out there buying comic books? I mean, I know there are some, don't get me wrong, but how many of them are hardcore fans? It's mostly dudes that are buying this shit. That's number one. Not to say that, you know, you can't have a story arc or something doing that, but when you're pushing it and it seems too fucking forced, I'm not with that shit. But yeah, I could go on and on and on. That's the way I feel. I'm a big comic book fan, but I'm slowly getting out of it, man. Like I said, even with this Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. crap, I love the show now more than ever, but if it's gonna continue down this road, I'm not gonna deal with it. I can't, because it's just this whole like forced, it's almost like propaganda. Actually, that's what it is to me. And I don't know, whatever. Y'all know what you know what I'm trying to say. I'm gonna cut it short here. Shout out to my people. You know who the fuck you are. Looking forward to Spider-Man that's coming out, I believe, 2 months. Looking forward to that movie. Shout out to all my comic book heads. Y'all know the deal. Leave your love, leave your hate. Most of all, subscribe. And that's it. Peace, bitches.